Special intentions, Councilman Carroll?
No, sir.
Oh, you didn't have any?
I don't have any.
Okay. Councilman McKinney, would you lead us in a prayer? Oh, I'm sorry. Tom's, I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
You did have one, okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention the Louisiana Municipal Association. We recently received a report that Mayor Paxton Branch passed away unexpectedly on September 1st. He was the mayor of Tallulah, which is a city just east of Monroe. Please keep him and your family in your prayers. Thank you.
Councilman McKinney, lead us in prayer, please.
Lord, thank you for this day, an opportunity for us to come together to make decisions for our community and work together for the best of Kenner. Please give us direction, fortitude, and grace to deal with the challenges that lay ahead. May we always listen with open ears and seek guidance from you in all we do. Amen.
You'll please join me by placing your right hand over your heart and facing the flag for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Under resolutions, motions, and other items from the floor. This evening, Mr. President, I have received a request to add item 3B, application number 2111-18, the Gala Music Foundation to hold a public gathering on September 16, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a Kenner Belated Annual Fest at 303 Williams Boulevard in Kenner Heritage Park, Kenner, Louisiana.
Is to add that to the agenda, correct?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Segura. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object to the council adding this to the agenda tonight? Please come forward.
Oh. Forgot that.
One second, sorry.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane. I just have a question. I understand this is adding an item to the agenda for basically a public event or a block party. What's the purpose of this addition?
The public gathering permit for a party which will be read when we read the consent agenda. What more question you have? I'm not sure.
Just that's all. Just wanted to know if I wanted to object, and I do not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the council meeting of August 23, 2018. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Gala Music Foundation, LLC, on September 16, 2018, at 303 Williams Boulevard, being property owned by the city of Kenner and Kenner, Louisiana. Item 2B is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Divine Mercy Catholic Church on October 12, 2018, October 13, 2018, and October 14, 2018 at 4337 Salentini Parkway in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2106-18, the National Street Rod Association to hold a public gathering on September 23, 2018, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the purpose of an appreciation day/safety run at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 2111-18, the Gala Music Foundation to hold a public gathering on September 16, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a Kenner Beleda Annual Fest at 303 Williams Boulevard in Kenner Heritage Park, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor?
Thank you, Council Chairman. Just a few things to go over. Obviously, we weathered Tropical Storm Gordon. Again, it was a good trial run. I want to thank the council, of course, our police department, our fire department, and all the directors, my staff, all the directors, the assistant directors, everyone who pitched in and we were prepared for what we thought was coming. We got told this on the eve of our Freedom Fest, as Freedom Fest was another success this year, second annual Freedom Fest. I appreciate those that attended. We probably would have exceeded, which is what we had predicted, the number from last year, but when you take into account that it was bad weather that whole week, people did not know. We were dealing with an LSU game that was changed from a Saturday night to a Sunday night after we had already booked the acts, and also preparation of our residents for another storm that was coming. It kept us around the 15,000 mark. So while we're still happy with it, we know it was successful. I appreciate you all that attended. I appreciate all the hard work everybody put into it. Also the Friends of Rivertown, what they did for this event, and it's only going to get bigger and better. We had a fantastic lineup. Had we not had those other 3 issues, we probably would have exceeded the 20,000 mark. But we will continue to give those acts, better acts next year, keep getting better, and keep attracting more people. But out of those 15,000 people, I think y'all know, I think one vendor complained that they could not make access after they were late. Well, I mean, shame on them, not on us. So out of 14,999 people that attended, we had one upset person, which I'm happy to report because that's really, really good. I want to congratulate our own Mike Entz. He's our Community Development Director. He is now part of the UNO Masters of Public Administration Advisory Committee. He's joining regional leaders to guide the design and delivery of the MPA program. That is very, very good for the city of Kenner. It is good for Mike Entz. It's the connections that he can further make with the University of New Orleans and also prosper the city of Kenner in doing so. So Mike, congratulations to you, and I thought everybody should know that. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to call up the fire chief and also some fire representatives and Ms. Heather Hilliard, we have the SAFER grant. August 24th, we were notified that the SAFER grant for the fire department has been delivered to the city of Kenner. This is historic for us. Nearly $2 million will be allocated over a 3-year period. I want to thank Heather Hilliard, our fire chief, and also Keith Crimmen with the fire department, and all the fire department for working together with this administration, this council, making sure that we do these types of things. She knows a lot more about the SAFER grant than I do, and so does the fire chief, so I'm going to ask them to come up, if you don't mind, Council Chairman, and give a report on that. Heather,
Thank you.
fire chief.
Thank you. That's correct. We've been working on the SAFER grant for some time now. We started it earlier in the year, and during the process, we were trying to find out, one, if we could get the grant money earlier, or we would have to wait for the following year. We had a really great team working on it between Heather and Keith. They wrote the grant, they submitted the grant, so give credit to those two. They did a great job. We were awarded $2 million, which is going to end up hiring roughly around 24 new firefighters, which is great for the city, great for the department, and great, just all around good thing. To get more into detail, I'll turn it over to Heather. She has a lot more details than I do.
Thank you, Council and Mr. Mayor. We've been working on this for quite some time. One of the things that this is going to do is contribute to our audit that we're currently in for PL, which is a state checking on us for 365 days that we're meeting or exceeding expectations. Right now, with this SAFER grant and the addition of these personnel, We may indeed be the 7th city in the state of Louisiana that achieves Class 1 status, which will contribute to lowering fire insurance rates and other good things for the city, such as yesterday we had a rescue in the lake with our search and rescue team. We got there and the fire department saved the gentleman who was trapped, brought him to the shore, had him stabilized before the Coast Guard actually had deployed their boat. So this is one of the things that this does. It gives us more staff to have better training. We're with other Homeland Security and emergency management funds. We're coordinating training to get things like search and rescue, to get more trench rescue or confined space rescue. We have a scuba team training coming up so that we can have underwater scuba search and rescue, so like last October that we had to use. We'll actually be able to have some more of that in-house too. We've already pulled and have set through the Fire Academy and JP the training that these 24 new personnel will go through, 16-week class, so we have that set already. This year so far, we've already had 1,500 calls for service. 451 of those are medical calls. So it's no longer just a fire department. A lot of this staff, SAFER grant goes to staffing for multiple public safety issues. We have a lot of trainings coming up with the Kenner Police Department and other things like that too. So it's not just fire department staff. It actually goes to improve public safety around the city of Kenner and for events such as did or did not happen with Gordon this past weekend. So it's a very good thing and recognizable for the city because this is the first one that we'll be able to accept and deploy for the city of Kenner. So it'll be the largest platoon type class we've hired in the city's history. So congratulations to Mayor Zahn and council for getting this.
Thank y'all. Great job. And Ms. Fosha, you didn't want to pass the hat for more contributions?
That will be at the next council meeting.
Okay. Thank y'all. Councilman Wilmot?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to say thank you for doing all that y'all have done to get the SAFER grant. That's great news, and it's going to be big to the city, and we appreciate all y'all do. So thank you very much, and administration as well. I know Ms. Foshi was directly involved in that as well. So thank everyone. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. And me too. I'd just like to thank the chief, the firefighters, you know, Ms. Heather, the mayor, and the administration, because as we know, this directly affects every household pocketbook. If we're able to rise to that level that only 7 others, I think she said, is at that status, that puts us in a small group, but it is a great group to be a part of. Considering the fact that we submitted for this, and not to digress, but in the past year or last year, we didn't even submit for it, which I will never understand, but like I said, I won't digress. But to be able to put ourselves, if we lose, we lose, but at least we're participating and wanting to do things to progress the city. And I think hats goes off to everybody that participated in this, and we look forward. I'm going to say that we are going to get it, along with the new 24 firefighters that will support our city. So, you know, God bless you guys, safe and Godspeed, and we look forward to the support. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. No others?
That will conclude the consent agenda, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion to on the consent agenda, Councilman Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,413, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner regarding the distribution of solicited and unsolicited print matter. Mr. President, we've received a request on behalf of Councilman McKinney for a 2-meeting deferral.
Thank you. Motion by Councilmember McKinney, second by Councilmember Brennan to defer for 2 meetings. Council members, please vote.
Mr. President, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,420, An ordinance authorizing a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Sixth Justice Court for the use of office space located at 1801 Williams Boulevard, Building C, first floor, in Kenner, Louisiana.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember McKinney to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. President, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this matter? Seeing none, no presentations. All right. To close the public hearing, motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilwoman McKinney. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Motion for approval, Councilman Segura, second by Councilwoman McKinney. Any discussion? Seeing none, council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,422, an amendment to ordinance number 10,930 adopted June 8, 2015, and ordinance number 11,331 adopted September 21, 2017, approving a conditional use for the new construction of parking garage as part of the Louis Armstrong International Airport's North Terminal located on a portion of T12S-R9E of the Southeast Land District of Louisiana, Kenner, Louisiana, which property is zoned AHI, Aviation Heavy Industrial.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We are now in a public hearing, and Ms. Sherman, you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mike Sherman, 800 Barone Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70113. I'm here on behalf of the Parking Facilities Corporation. We are a nonprofit corporation that runs the long-term garage at the airport currently, and will run this proposed garage on the north side. We'll own, develop, and construct it. Dr. Norman Francis is our chair. This is one of the earlier forms of a public-private partnership. The airport employed it about 20 years ago for the long-term garage. It's the same model we'll use moving forward, and I am proud to say I'm here on behalf of one of the largest taxpayers to the city of Kenner. That will only go up if this motion is approved, if this conditional use is approved tonight. We are proud to be able to contribute about $1.8 million a year to the city of Kenner if this is approved through this 2,750 space parking garage and through the existing parking garage in the south side that would now become economy parking. So we'll be the entity that builds and develops the 2,750 space public parking garage in place of a 700 space surface lot on the north side, and we'll also continue to run as an economy lot on the south side, the existing long-term garage. This is a win for Kenner. We'll generate money for Kenner. We'll also generate great tax revenue. We'll have a building permit coming through, hopefully, in the coming few weeks, over $300,000. It's a win for airport parkers. I know how frustrating it is. Just last weekend, the parking garages filled up at the airport. The tweets followed, and folks had to make alternative arrangements. We're going to have over 8,000 spaces of parking at the new airport, and the Parking Facilities Corporation will contribute more than half of those spaces through this innovative public-private partnership. I want to assure everyone, because we know how important this is, that we actually improve the drainage situation. We improve permeable space at the airport rather than a paved parking lot by having a structured garage. You'll see we've been able to incorporate a lot of green space. So that's actually going to improve the drainage situation over its current iteration. And by having these spaces to serve airport parkers, we also believe we have no effect on traffic at all at the new airport. We're just 2,750 spaces. We're happy to answer any questions. I do want to thank the administration in Kenner, Mayor Zahn, and members of this council for your leadership. We know you have been staunch advocates for your citizens, making sure that as this new terminal opens, it's done as smoothly with the interests of Kenner citizens in mind. So I want to thank all the attention we've gotten from the administration, the mayor. We know there's difficult issues. I'm just here on behalf of the Parking Facilities Corporation. Our matter is merely limited to turning a 700-space surface parking lot into the structured garage. But I want to thank the administration for its support. We promise to be a great taxpayer and a great citizen here in Kenner as we've been. Happy to answer any questions. I do want to point out we had the unanimous support from the Planning Commission. So we're here with their recommendation tonight, and we do not object to a proviso proposed to incorporate a proviso on fire suppression at the new airport.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mr. Tapp, before I move on, I neglected my planning department. I'd like to make a presentation. Yes, I was figuring he would, but.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Sherman said, Sherman Strategies is the applicant, 800 Barone Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70113. The property owner is the City of New Orleans. The Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport is an approximately 1,600-acre general and commercial aviation facility within the city of Kenner and generally bounded by Veterans Memorial Boulevard to the north, Airline Drive to the south, the Airport Access Road to the east, and St. Charles Jefferson Parish Line to the west. The entire airport property is zoned AHI, Aviation Heavy Industrial. So the applicant here is proposing to amend the airport's conditional use to allow the new construction of a parking garage on the site of the previously approved east surface parking lot. The parking garage complex will include the following. It will be a 7-level or 7-story, 76-foot-high parking garage measuring 530 feet by 258 feet. The proposed garage will accommodate 2,750 standard parking spaces. Now, in addition to the 7 levels of the garage, the applicant is also proposing a 39,916 square foot, 8th-floor office structure above the 7th level on the top west side of the garage. This office structure brings the total height of the structure on the west side to 101 feet. Now, the space within this structure will not initially be built out, but will be available to the airport should they decide for future relocation of their administrative offices. They're also proposing a 108-space surface lot adjacent to the east side of the garage. This lot will accommodate 108 oversized parking spaces. Finally, a 4,200 square foot single-story administrative office building located at ground level adjacent to the west side of the proposed parking garage. The building will house the parking garage's administrative management offices. Mr. Sherman mentioned the landscaping of the structure. In addition to that, the original landscape plan for the approved east surface parking garage only included 32 Class A trees and sod around the parking lot in the Greenbelt area. The applicant here is proposing to actually replace those 32 Class A trees, and in addition to those 32 trees, put in 63 Class B trees, 2,304 shrubs, 3,230 perennials and ground cover, and 11,400 square yards of sod for the surrounding greenbelt. Now, the sod represents approximately about not quite twice the amount of original sod that was planned for the east surface, so the surrounding greenbelt and the east surface garage. In addition, as Mr. Sherman said, they're also proposing to include landscaping on the exterior walls of the proposed parking garage. So the landscaping plan has been determined to meet the requirements of the city's landscape ordinance. As it relates to stormwater management, the total square footage of the original east surface parking site, including the cell phone and manager's lot, was about 311,463 square feet. The planning garage, 1-story parking office, additional surface parking, site paving, sidewalks, and exit plaza, third arrivals exit lane, and a dedicated right turn lane, all total only 267,961 square feet. So this results in approximately 1 acre reduction in the total amount of impervious surface on the airport site. So that will not obviously add to any of the drainage issues based on the pervious surfacing of the North Terminal site. So as originally approved, the East Surface parking lot included 606 parking spaces. The parking garage it will include 2,750 spaces, as well as 108 additional oversized surface parking spaces on the east side of the proposed garage. This will result in a net increase of 2,252 additional parking spaces on the site of the North Terminal. The applicant hired Urban Systems to conduct an updated traffic impact analysis based on the additional 2,252 spaces that will be available on the North Terminal site once the new garage is in place. The Urban Systems analysis utilized baseline traffic counts taken in 2012 and that were projected forward to determine the baseline levels of service in 2019 when the North Terminal is scheduled to open. The analysis, excuse me, the actual analysis included the Loyola Drive I-10 eastbound and westbound intersections and the Loyola Drive Veterans Boulevard intersection. And they studied two scenarios scenario one included the employee parking, consolidated rental car center, and the long-term self-parking remaining at the South Terminal. Scenario two assumed that the employee parking and consolidated rental car center would remain at the South Terminal, while the long-term self-parking would be relocated to the North Terminal due to the proposed increased parking from the east parking garage. Both scenarios assume that any currently planned traffic improvements would be implemented prior to the opening of the North Terminal. Their analysis, the Urban Systems analysis, determined that the levels of service would remain unchanged in the peak AM and PM periods at the Loyola Drive, I-10 eastbound and westbound interchanges. Their analysis did project that the level of service for the peak PM period at the Loyola Veterans Boulevard interchange will decrease from a level C to a level D under both scenarios. Now, the city hired ITS Regional LLC to conduct a review of the Urban Systems traffic study. As part of their review process, ITT went out and collected traffic count data at the study intersections to develop a current baseline level of service. They then projected traffic volumes based on the two scenarios used by Urban Systems to develop their peak AM, PM analysis for each intersection. Based on ITS's updated 2018 traffic counts and their analysis utilizing both scenarios, they showed decreased baseline levels of service at various peak times at each of the intersections that were studied, as compared to the Urban Systems analysis. And if you notice on the charts, everything in red on the bottom chart is where the Urban Systems analysis deviated from what was projected by, where the ITS, the consultant the city hired, where their projections differed from what Urban Systems analysis came up with. So, with the exception of the peak PM flow at the Loyola I-10 eastbound intersection, ITS projects the North Terminal with the additional parking garage will result in reduced levels of service at all other intersections compared to the Urban Systems analysis. Additionally, ITS projects a level of service D in the AM and F in the PM at the Loyola Veterans intersection, both lower than the Urban Systems projections. Now, the Planning Commission did vote to recommend approval with the following stipulations. One, that an update of the Loyola Drive traffic analysis and analysis of the Veterans Boulevard corridor between Williams Boulevard and Loyola Drive should be completed as recommended by ITS in order to address the anticipated degradation in the level of service on said roadways. Number two, additionally, during the time prior to this matter coming before the City Council for final passage, the city will continue to review the ITS Regional LLC traffic study to determine if additional conditions will need to be addressed by the applicant before final approval of the conditional use permit. And that concludes the Planning Department's presentation.
Okay. Mr. Teff?
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive. I just want to point out and make sure I didn't hear what I heard wrong. I think I heard Mr. Sherman say that if this council approves this plan, that they would donate $2 million to the city of Kenner. I have a little problem with that if that's
Wait,
really what I
hold
heard.
on. Did anybody else hear that? I'm not sure.
Nobody else heard that?
I think he said he would pay taxes. I don't know about donating any money.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to clarify that.
Okay, well, we didn't hear donate. We heard generate taxes, so,
Well, that came out, I did come after, but I heard that the city of Kenner would receive $2 million.
okay.
Now, I could have been half asleep. I don't know.
Well, he's still here. We'll let him clarify. You finished, Mr. Tapp?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Brown, would you allow Mike, Mr. Sherman, would you clarify that? Donate, generate?
Yeah, so I think I was intending to use the word contribute. So one of the largest taxes the city of Kenner has is a 10% parking tax. So at the short-term garage right now, it's $19. That's $1.90 of tax that comes right to Kenner, in addition to the ordinary sales tax, which I think right now is a little over 9%. So by having more spaces, we're going to actually be at probably about $1.8 million of contribution of tax dollars to the city of Kenner, and that'll be over $1 million additional to what the Parking Facilities Corporation contributes right now by having those additional spaces.
Okay, so that's basically just additional revenue for the city through the means of the extra parking and the taxes that go along with that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Taff, you clear? Okay, Mr. Brown?
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I thought I heard him use the word donate also, but I think he just cleared up what he meant by the statement.
All right, thank you. Pastor?
Good evening. Pastor Jacqueline Brown Cockerham, 2610 Decatur Street. I'm not sure about this gentleman's name.
Wendell Dufour.
Wendell Dufour, okay, all right. You mentioned something about drainage on the north side. What are the drainage issues?
I didn't specifically mention drainage. What I did note was that the construction of the north terminal parking garage and the associated surfacing and projects with that would actually reduce the amount of impervious surface on the north terminal site by about an acre.
Okay, so,
So it increases the stormwater
So
management.
there's actually, at least from the east surface site, there's less water running off than would have been under the previous east surface lot with the
you-
new garage.
so there's a place for it to go rather than in
Well,
the
there's
neighborhood?
Well, there's
You have
less.
something constructed?
No, I just want to make sure I'm clear, that I was only noting that the construction of the garage, when it's completed, will actually reduce from what was
I can't
originally.
hear you, I'm sorry. I got one good ear, and I'm getting
So-
some distractions from the
What,
council up here.
once the parking garage is completed, if it's approved and built as the plan suggests, the construction actually reduces the amount of water that would be running off of that site as compared to what was originally approved under the airport's plan. So they're taking away the surface parking, they're adding a lot more green space, and they're putting in a smaller footprint than what was originally there.
I hear you. But when I heard the word drainage, and on the north side, I know that I'm right there at the north side of that airport, that construction. And my concern was, what are the drainage issues? And because you said it, that's why I wanted to know. But thank you, appreciate it. And thank you for your attention.
Which one wants to go first? James? Mr. Muhammad?
Ms. Brown is a wonderful lift station. It's a state-of-the-art facility that was recently constructed. It's getting ready to go online permanently. We've done some test runs out there. All the airport stormwater will be pumped into the canal, the Parish Line Canal. None of that water is going to have an impact on the city of Kenner that's coming out the airport, which is a wonderful thing because we've been receiving its water for a long time.
Mr. Mohammed, just for my clarification, you said lift station, but is that pumping station?
I'm sorry, sir, it's a pumping station.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Foshee?
Yes, I guess my surprise is there weren't any questions about the traffic, as we just heard a fairly alarming report there. So we want to make sure everyone knows that we are actually taking steps to address that. If the world were a perfect world, we'd put in the roads and then the airport, but that didn't happen that way. We put the airport in, and now we're trying to catch up with the roads, and eventually we will. They're calling it a flyover, which is basically a fancy word for a bridge, that will be coming in, and the funding is there for this through Garvey bonds, through the state. So the money is there, but that's a multi-year project. So in the meantime, we're going to be dealing with some traffic congestion, but we're also engaging in some improvements to alleviate that as much as possible. So I'm going to ask the Public Works Director, if that's all right with you, Mr. President, to ask him to bring us up to speed in terms of the ground level improvements, the lighting synchronization on veterans, basically what we're doing now to help alleviate until the flyover gets here.
Mr. Schreiner?
Okay, in addition to the interchange improvements, which I think we're all very familiar with at this point, another thing that we're looking at is veterans. We're looking at synchronizing the lights down veterans all the way from Williams to Loyola. That's been looked at. We think that can be implemented for just less than $5,000. That's something that can be done. Issue is making sure that we keep them synchronized, and that's a matter of putting devices at each control. So that's a very minor cost to the city, and we think that will improve things greatly. On the connector road, which is being constructed at this point, that's scheduled to be complete probably within weeks of the airport north terminal opening. So it's a very, very tight timeline, but that's the current projection. Also, the road between veterans and the airport property is also the additional lanes are being constructed at this time. That was change ordered into the project, so that'll be ready to go. The only thing we won't have is the connection, the additional lanes between veterans and the interstate. Once the fire station is moved, we'll be able to construct additional lanes, which will increase the level of service for that stretch of the road as well.
Thank you. And also, with that delay is the renovation of the intersection of Loyola and Veterans.
Yes, the part on the north side we won't be able to construct that until that station is gone.
Right. Okay. Ms. Foshee, you finish? Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank Mr. Dufort, thank Attorney Sherman for coming and giving that explanation, and all the citizens also that always come up and express their concerns and comments, whatever. Two questions. One for the attorney is the name of the nonprofit, Parking Facilities Cooperation. I'd like to get their contact information from you and I.
Yes, sir.
You and Ken, if I can get that from you, I'd like to get that information.
Yes, sir.
And because this is a partnership between New Orleans, and I have that contact, but I need to get that organization's contact, if you don't mind. So we'll get that. Also, Ms. Foshee, I was not going to forget to add about the traffic, because obviously, you know, we get that on a daily basis whenever we get a chance to stop along Veterans. So that is a concern. Obviously, everything else that's going on. The question to Mr. Dufort is, two of the proposals or recommendations by the Planning Department is one for the update of the traffic analysis along Loyola and the analysis of veterans and corridor. Now, along with the director's recommendations, how does this fit in, and when does it have to happen, this proposal, this recommendations for the...
It's just part of the Planning Commission's recommendation to the council.
I know, but when should this be done? Should this be done before the construction starts? Is it going to be done within 60 days?
It's not, it's a recommendation, and I don't know that it's been started.
Councilman
Ms.
Carroll?
Foshee?
I see Ms. Foshee waving her hand. so
Ms. Foshee,
maybe
you
she-
got it.
Both of those are underway as we speak.
Okay.
So those recommendations came simultaneously with us actually already being involved in that. It had been a recommendation in communications with DOTD and the RPC and some funding that we may have available to do some of the projects. So that is key for our ability to get others to participate.
Right. And Ms. Foshee, is that in coordination with the director's comments as the traffic
Yes.
lights? And is that part of it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right. So once that is done, I would appreciate if you can share with us
Absolutely.
the results from that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak in the public hearing? Seeing none, council members, motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Wilmot to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Wilmot, but we have an amendment.
Yes, sir. If I could, please, at the request of the administration and the legal department, at the end of section 1, we will add, subject to the following condition. New Orleans International Airport shall assume primary responsibility for structural fire suppression and shall have appropriate manpower, apparatus, and equipment assigned in compliance with National Fire Protection Association codes and standards on or before occupancy of the north terminal and parking structures.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Carroll. Any discussion? Councilman Carroll.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to also thank the attorney for also briefing me with some information as it relates to this amendment. And as the mayor stated a couple of weeks ago, the apparatus, the equipment from the airport for fire suppression, if you want to call it that, is not what it should be. This ensures that they will have to be able to support the structure. And if by chance they don't, obviously we are good neighbors and we could be able to support this at a cost, I hope, for it. I think that is something that we should offer them, just in case it is more conducive for them not to purchase it and for us to support it. And that's just my 2 cents on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Foshee, you still anything?
Mr. President, yes, just to give a little update on this, because I recognize this came pretty late in the day. This was a conversation that we had literally at 4:30 with the airport. What we've known all along, I think, is that the City of Kenner Fire Department has done an amazing job to be actual first responders for the airport. And I don't think that was ever the intention. At one point, the airport did have a full complement, and then as equipment went out of, commission, and as they lost their tanker and a variety of things happened, we just kept responding. So what we're supposed to be doing, and what the agreement that we had in the past with them said, was that we were mutual aid, which means they handled the first call, and then we back them up. But over time, they have a full, don't anybody get alarmed, they had a full complement to be able to do airplane fires out there. But for structure fires, that was always the City of Kenner. While we'd be happy to continue to help, once they move to the north side, based upon the positioning of our fire houses and the equipment that we have and the current manpower that we have, we would really not be able to do that without further funding. We need additional equipment and additional apparatus. So we asked them to please take the necessary steps to make themselves first responders again. They don't right now have any trucks to be used for structure fires. All of their equipment is for airplane fires, but we've heard today from the Kenner representative on the board that they've already put in a purchase order for the type of a ladder truck that they're going to need, and they have agreed, based upon this condition, that they will get the manpower and the equipment they need to be able to be first responders. And again, we're happy to help them, and we'd certainly be happy to contract with them. They are owned by the City of New Orleans, who does happen to have a fire department themselves. So they could bring their own firemen out there if that's what they chose. But we need them to staff up to the first responder level so that what we're really doing is giving them mutual aid. We're never going to let them burn down, but we just like for them to, step up, and they've agreed to do so.
Councilman Carroll?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Ms. Foshee. I mean, this is a good segue from the SAFER grant that we have gotten, the additional firemen that will be getting to be able to support this expansion that is going to be on our citizens in this area. So all of this ties in real well. Is it something that will be beneficial for us to say as a plus for us to ask for that higher rating? Can we use that to our advantage?
The SAFER grant and the new manpower is exactly where we're going to go with that. I mean, what this is going to allow us to do is put 4 men on a truck, because right now we only have routinely 3 men on a truck, and we need 4 men or more on a truck. So it's very exciting, and y'all, that's why Councilman Segura said, am I going to sit here and ask for more money for the fire department? Because y'all heard me since last year saying that operating a fire department, this is just what it costs. So what we're doing with these funds is we're not adding some super over-the-top ability. What we're doing is getting enough firemen to make everybody safe. So this will help us, and this will get us closer to that mark. Is there ever enough? No. We could always have more men, and we could always have more trucks. Same thing with the police department, same thing with EMS, everybody. But we'll do the best with what we have to work with. I think this particular addition is going to put us into a compliant level for the majority of the codes that we're supposed to be working with, and certainly give our guys a chance. Overtime is killing us. So if we get enough guys so that all these guys don't have to basically work 2 jobs for the city of Kenner and 2 more jobs when they go home, I think we're going to be doing everybody a favor. So the city is going to be better off financially. The firemen themselves are going to be better off, and I think the citizens are going to be better off. So that might not be what you asked, but soapbox for us.
It is. It's pretty much answered the things I wasn't going to ask, but you answered it also, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion on the amendment, council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
No other discussion, and on the proposal, council members, please vote.
One more?
Somebody did not vote?
One more vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,428, an ordinance accepting the award of 2017 Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, funding in the amount of $51,751 by the Louisiana Housing Corporation, and amending the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget to allocate said funding for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Council Brannigan, seconded by Council Member Brennan to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We are now in a public hearing on the summary ordinance that was just read. Anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none. Motion by Councilman Brannigan, seconded by Councilman Brennan to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Brennan for approval. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. President, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution amending Rule 7, regular meetings of the council of the Rules of Organization, Business, Order, and Procedure of the Council of the City of Kenner to adjust the meeting times of the Kenner City Council.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilman Brannigan. Council members, please vote. Wait, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yes,
we want
sir.
to vote to put it on the floor.
We have an amendment this evening.
Yes.
I've received a request to amend the item tonight at the request of Councilmember Wilmot. We will change the time from 5 to 6 for the Thursday meetings, and then we will add a section 2 to read that these changes will be reevaluated after 6 months and a determination made as to whether to make the changes permanent or revert to the original items. And then we will renumber the current section 2 to section 3.
Thank you. On the amendment, council members?
Motion and second for the amendment, please.
Let me get the amendment, because all the discussion is all going to be spun around. It's not discuss and then discuss the amendment. So let's amend. Council members, please vote.
I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, I
sorry.
believe seconded by Councilmember
Hayes.
Hayes for the amendment tonight.
Amendment, yes. Please vote.
Mr. President, motion passes 7-0 on your amendment.
All right. Now, back on the floor is the discussion of this resolution with the amendment. I know we have several council members that want to speak, so.
Let them speak first, because I want more information on it before I
All righty,
speak.
that's what I wanted to make sure, so.
Go first.
Councilman Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to just mention, first off, the original resolution, it mentions changing the second meeting, leaving the first alone, but the second meeting, it changes it from the third Thursday, from 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock to Friday at 11 o'clock. So that is the change. Just to be clear, it's the second meeting, the council meeting of the month. That's what this resolution addresses. The amendment, however, changes the resolution. I've heard several issues from several people, and we attempted to incorporate those things into the amendment. What it does is, we want to get the best attendance possible. I think that's important, of course, and I think we all do. We all agree on that, from what I gather from my colleagues. After speaking with numerous people on this and my colleagues about this current legislation, the amendment that's being offered is simply put, we're changing the first council meeting of the month from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That was at the request of several people, many of who were here. We're trying to make it so it's easier for people to attend after work. Then it changes and makes it a trial period for 6 months. So even the third week, when having the second council meeting, that is going to make that subject to change at the end of a period of 6 months. We want to revisit it at that time and make a determination after we gather some data whether or not how we should maintain that meeting. I think it's important. We're trying to bring in everybody, make it all inclusive so we can have the best attendance possible. Of course, the citizens that have been involved in this process, many of you have contacted us, given us email messages, text messages, and phone calls. We appreciate all that input because it's important to us. We take that in consideration in trying to make a good decision. And I think we doing that with the actual legislation and the amendment itself. So based on this, I think we're doing it in a wise manner, and I'm asking for my colleagues' support on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes. First, I want to thank the people who are coming to speak. And I want to speak out in support of both the original resolution and then the amendment as well. I know I spoke to many of the people who are actually going to speak, but I also spoke to many other people and citizens in the community, and they were in favor of changing this meeting time, specifically to Friday at 11. And I think that it shows that we are trying to open it up to other audiences in the city of Kenner. One of the most important audiences, I think, is it's going to have a day meeting is going to allow students to attend the meetings through field trips and also through other, government clubs. Actually, I attended a Jefferson Parish Council meeting through an internship, and that was what piqued my interest in government. So I think that's an important thing that'll be open to. I also think that having meetings at Friday at 11 will allow moms who, I'm a mom, and I represent their views, especially stay-at-home moms and moms who work part-time. I think that's a lot of the times a meeting at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock is not going to allow those people to attend the meetings. If I look out in the audience, actually, there are less than 10 people who don't work for the city of Kenner or Jefferson Parish that are attending this meeting where we're discussing to change the meeting time. So clearly, this is not a good time to be to open it up to the public, and I think that I welcome Tom's amendment to 6. So maybe there might be 50 next time. And then I really do think that changing it to 11 is going to open it up to a lot of other people. The aging population of City of Kenner, when I was knocking on doors, a lot of people don't like to go out at night. If we change the meeting times to 6, I think it's going to even be worse. And during fall, when we when we go into daylight savings, we are definitely going to fall into the time frame where we're all going to be leaving at nighttime. A lot of citizens don't like to be out, especially older citizens don't like to be out in the middle of at night past dusk. And I think that that's going to open it up to those citizens in the middle of the day. And just, I think the changing it to a Friday is also going to be good, because a lot of working people like myself, have flexibility on Fridays. We work from home. We also can work, and have some flexibility. So opening this up and thinking differently, we're having a new framework to welcome other people who are not normally considered being active in government. I think that that's really important, and that's why I'm going to be supporting both this original resolution and the amendment. Thank you.
Councilman Brannigan?
Oh, yes, I am in favor of this change, and I've heard both sides of the story. Bottom line is, I went out and talked to about 20 people. I didn't call my sister, I didn't call my cousin. I called people that are involved civically in different facets throughout the city. And out of the 20 people that I talked to, all of them were in favor of this. And one of the people that I talked to said we ought to change both meetings to 11 o'clock. But I said that scenario would have a bomb go off in the city of Kenner. The bottom line is, I feel that we represent the people who live in the city of Kenner. All of the district councilmen have their individual districts. That large people represent across the whole city. I believe that this change gives every resident in the city of Kenner an opportunity to come to these meetings. This is my 5th council meeting, and I can tell you that there are 5 or 6 people that come to every council meeting. Haven't seen many more people come to them other than that. In the past, when I wasn't here and there were issues, the council chambers do get packed, and I believe that when there's a significant issue on the table, we're going to have the people show up, whether it's at 5, 6, or 11 o'clock in the morning. Bottom line is, I went out and talked to people, and I didn't get one person other than one person that called me to express his concern and that he didn't want this to happen. I did have one person call me. They started off the conversation with, I'm opposed to this. After we talked and I told him what my reasoning was and how I looked at this as a common sense approach, he says, I totally agree with you. So, we're not just listening, we're going out, and I hope that you see that we are listening to the people by the amendment that was offered to this proposal.
Councilman McKinney would like to add something?
Yes, I apologize for not mentioning this prior. But I spoke with a lot of people, and actually was asked them to come to speak, and unfortunately, they all had other commitments at this time. So hopefully they said that they could definitely make Friday at 11 meetings. So that's why they're not all here to speak. Thanks.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will just keep my comments as it relates to the amendment that's on the floor, as opposed to talk about what we've changed, because I will give it an opportunity to have some air and to see exactly what comes back before I state any comments. But the good thing is, we all have a different constituency. We all are going to get different ideas, opinions. So it's going to be different. We're not going to always agree. But the good thing is, we all represent all of the city, which will make the whole city. So my comments obviously will be based on people that have not spoken with Councilman Brannigan or Councilman McKinney. It'll be other people. So that's the good thing about it. The better thing is, I would like to thank Councilman Wilmot, thanking everyone else and the mayor for bringing up this other compromise, because I think that's how we are better to be able to do things in a compromise, to see how it will affect us. And it gives us a chance to see raw data and to look at it and see. So I want to thank them for this. And I will be supporting this for sure, because I think it will show numbers. It shows that we are trying to work together. It shows that everybody has an input into what we are trying to do for the city. So I look forward to the next 6 months to see what comes out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council President. Yes, I think it's a good compromise, as it's been stated, and it's not etched in stone, so it is something that we can look at in the future to change. We're never going to know unless we try it. We're never going to know unless we hear from people. So I'm in support of this, and for those reasons, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morel?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I'm opposed to the amendment, and I'm opposed to the original resolution, and I'm going to tell you why. I've been attending those meetings at Jefferson Parish for over 20 years. And I'm going to tell you who attends those meetings. And then it was an issue just last year by some of the people who are able to attend. The groups of people who attend those meetings are professional people, special interests, lawyers, attorneys, retired people like myself. And the only school children you see over there or Boy Scout groups is when there's a proclamation being given. And people feel shut out because it is at 10 o'clock in the morning. They've been trying to change it for quite some time now. And what they get from the parish is, well, when we implemented 10 o'clock, we had no opposition to it. Now, I've heard this over the last 20 years. Now, I'm retired. I got no problem. I got no dog in this hunt at all. But other people, I'm not talking about special interests. I'm not talking about professional people. I'm talking about the everyday working, tax-paying citizen who has to have their nose to the grindstone to feed their family, who would love to participate in their government, but they can't, and they feel shut out. Now, I'm going to direct this to Councilwoman McKinney. You said you talked to these people, and they responded to you. Where they at? Let me tell you something. When you wholeheartedly believe in something, you stand up for what you believe in, and you give your opinion, whether or not you stand for something or you against it. So them not being here, to me, it seems like what they told you don't have any significance on anything. They're not here to speak one way or the other. So this tells me they could care less. But I'm standing here and I'm talking for the people who can't come here because they got to work 2, 3 jobs to take care of their families. So that's why I'm opposed to this. And I'll always be opposed to it. The only reason it was changed from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock years ago was because we had long debates up here. We had difference of opinion between the council. And some of these meetings went on till 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's why it was shifted back to pushed back to 5 o'clock. So I would like to see it just like it is and not move it to no 11 o'clock at all. Because you're going to be shutting out some people, and I can tell you it was an issue with Jefferson Parish, and it'll be an issue here right now, and Councilman Brannigan just said it, that if you try to move it to 11 o'clock on both meetings, there'd be a firestorm back here. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Reagan Fink. I am the resident program coordinator for Brookdale Senior Living, 1600 Joe Yenny, and I want to express my support to change the meeting time to Friday at 11 a.m. That way I could put it on my schedule. I do not just represent my seniors. We go out to the community, and we speak with a lot of seniors, and I can honestly say I spoke with 62 of them today who said there's no way they'd come after supper. I just got here after their supper, which was 4 p.m. As the person who plans the activities, I know that they're not going to be here. They're at 4:30, they eat supper, then they start preparing for bed. I know that my seniors at Brookdale would love to be involved in the Kenner community and the decisions made by this council. But unfortunately, with all the meetings taking place so late, my seniors are not able to attend. I won't take any more of your time. I just ask that you make this, when you make this decision, you take into mind my senior population, and they all feel excluded at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Taft, 3720 West Loyola Drive. First of all, I did hear from 2 council members on this issue. Was happy that I did hear from them. And I'm glad that there is a reevaluation in it. I think that kind of relaxes it a little bit. If this is what we want to do, is test the ground. I mean, that is probably realistic. I have always said, and I've said it to a lot of people here, that I like 6 o'clock. I actually like 7, but 6, only because I know when we were coming to these meetings for the issue with the UDC, a lot of people couldn't make it at 5. And if you'll recall during those meetings, they did, because I told them to come anyway. You would see them straggle in at different times between, like 6, and some at 7. You even had some that came in, because we still had the line of people talking. So that's why, to me, I always suggested the later. But my only concern for Friday, to be honest with you, is that it breaks up a pattern. People get used to a pattern, like the first, third Thursday. That sets in their mind. I don't know if Friday will confuse people more than it will help, especially on the early meeting. I don't know that. But I know that most people know basically it's the first and the third until y'all change it. Then that kind of, because of holidays, whatever, that's when you start seeing how that cogwheel stops turning. So while I'm opposed to the change, I will relax with the promise that we will reevaluate this in 6 months. If attendance doesn't change, that we would look at going back. If not, maybe extending the time if we see fit from 6, maybe up a little bit. Thank you.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane. I've discussed this with each one of you in one way or another. Have sent text messages to all of you, have had telephone conversations with several of you, face-to-face meetings with some of you, done all 3 with some of you. And I was, and for that matter, I still am opposed to changing the meetings to Friday at 11 a.m., partly because of what Mr. Teft said. It confuses people. Knowing the council meets on the 1st and 3rd Thursday is easy to remember. Thinking they meet on the 1st Thursday and the 3rd Friday gets really confusing. Personally, I don't think you're going to get better attendance at 11 a.m. Maybe you will. I hope it works. I would like to be proven wrong because I really like to see people come to council meetings. I hope it works. I don't think it will, but I commend Tom Wilmot for his amendment. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I haven't talked to anybody who liked the change to 11 a.m. on Friday. I did talk to 2 or 3 who said, well, I don't really have a problem with it. We can see how it works. But nobody liked it. Nobody said, oh, good, I'm so glad they're changing it to daytime meetings. Nobody. What I did hear from a lot of people was that they need to move back the evening meeting. We can't get there at 5 o'clock. by changing the meetings to 11, you were doing a double whammy to working people. Most people who work day jobs. They have a real hard time getting here for a 5 o'clock meeting, and they darn sure can't be here for an 11 o'clock meeting. This compromise makes what you're doing much more palatable, and the 6-month sunset on it, or to reevaluate it in 6 months, I like. So I thank and I commend Mr. Wilmot for his amendment that makes it much more palatable. Let's see how it works. And reevaluate it. I think most of the other stuff I would say I've said to all of you at one time or another. So, thank you.
Ron Pradat, 960 Tavel Drive. I support the amendment and the resolution. I think it's great. It gives concerned citizens more adverse times to come to council meetings and get involved, voice their opinions, and get involved with city business. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the council, the mayor's office, Chief Glazer and his department, and also code enforcement for handling the traffic situation at Chateau School. It's been going good for the last couple weeks, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Morella, I just wanted to address your questions first. So the people who, I did clarify earlier, but the people who couldn't attend and speak, it was because they had other commitments. They have kids, they have swim meets, they have, one of the people was, they actually have their kid's birthday today, so, you know, I mean, life happens. I also want to point out that I work, so, and I work downtown. I work downtown during the day, and I make it to all of the meetings. So I make it work. And then, you know, and it is easier for, you know, actually I'm in favor of the amendment because the amendment is actually making it later for 6 to 6 p.m. So that's easier for working people. So I think that if we weren't voting to change the meeting to Friday, we probably would just keep having 5 p.m. meetings. So actually we are working to improve so more working people can attend. In answer to, you know, Mr. Teft, I think you know, I thank you for, and actually thank you for everyone for speaking. You know, I think the problem of advertising the meeting and changing the times of the meeting is that's going to be incumbent upon us, the city council and the mayor, to deal and do proper change management for the city, you know, and advertise that. I think we've already spoken about that with the deputy CAO and making sure that, you know, if this happens and it goes forward, we're going to make sure that everyone knows. And, you know, with any change, a lot of people are opposed to change, obviously. You know, change is hard, but I think if we want to move the city forward and make it better, we need to do something. And opening up to more citizens this is the way to do it. We're having a meeting at different times. People who can't come at 6 will come at 11. I think this is the best way to go, because I think if you don't change something, then you're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and hope that it's going to change, and that's the definition of insanity. And thank you to Mr. Pradat and Ms. Fink for speaking in favor, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
All right. In closing, I would just like to not reiterate completely, but just support what I've heard from my colleagues, that the intent has always been to expand the opening of this council meeting for more people to attend. As been mentioned, this council meeting, whether it be whatever time in the evening, has been going on certainly for decades, and other than the hot topic issues, it's the sparsely attended meeting that you see tonight. And so the option to look and go to a different time in the day was to hopefully expand that and split that where we're going from night to day, which is opposite. So if you go opposite, hopefully you'll get another group of people that will come. As mentioned, and I've worked through my district quite a bit, which is a predominantly elderly district, and I had the same comments. Yes, I would love to participate at the council meetings, but I'm not coming out at night. And 5 o'clock is almost nighttime, and it will be in a couple of weeks. So whether it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they don't want to come out because that's just their nature. They don't like traveling around at night. So, Mr. Morrell, that's why they're not here tonight, is because they did not come out anyway. So they're not going to come out tonight. But we'll see over the next 6 months if they do come out at the Friday morning meetings. And then as the amendment puts forth, it will be reevaluated in 6 months. And if we don't get any additional attendance, whether it be the Thursday at 6 or the Friday at 11, we'll bring it back up, have another discussion to see what to do at that point. But I think that that's the fair thing right now is to move forward with this. Let us put it through the 6 month and take the data that we can collect and then make the further decision on a permanent and remember, permanent is only at the point of 4 members of this council. It's a council rule change, so any 4 members can change it at any time. So with that, Ms. Brannigan, I'm sorry.
Greg, Mr. Tepp, we will be putting out notification of the change so that no one will have an issue. I'd like to ask the administration, plan-wise, what are your plans to get it out? Because we do not want anyone confused. We're doing this to accommodate every citizen in the city of Kenner. So if someone on the administration staff would like to comment on that, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
We'll definitely get that out. Our PIO, I'm going to put our deputy CEO with our PIO, Public Information Officer, to get that out as soon as this is effective. It looks like there's a pretty good consensus of this council that is the direction y'all want to go. We will stand behind it. Obviously, my administration,
Go ahead.
my administration will support it. It's a council decision, but we will support this, and I think this is a good direction to go in. It will be on Facebook. It will be all through social media, Nextdoor Neighbor, even Kennebra. Every website that we already, social media place that we actually advertise on, we will definitely get it out and make sure the public knows about this. And just from my point of view, I don't think it's going to be earth-shattering to the public. We have about 5 or 6 usual attendees that come here. I think they know tonight it's changing. So I believe that, and I guess the question that goes back to Councilman McKinney that you were asked by someone, where are they? Well, I think you answered that pretty well, Councilwoman McKinney. They're not here because they can't be here. I guess your question, though, should have been, where are the others? Because it is now 6:23. In 1 month, we will be, you all and myself, will be 23 minutes into another council meeting. I don't think it's going to change. But I do think it will change at 11 o'clock in the morning. I think having been with the parish where they did it at 10 o'clock in the morning, there was probably not an empty seat. And it was a lot of concerned citizens also. So in answer to your question, absolutely, we'll get it out for you.
Okay, and I also think that the council members need to include it if you send a newsletter out or put it on your Facebook pages and all that to make sure no one misses this deal, because the bottom line is to try and get more people to council meetings and make sure that every resident of the city of Kenner has an opportunity to go to one, and if you work at night, you don't have an opportunity. Okay? Thank you, Mayor.
All right, seeing no other discussion.
Chairman,
Council President, I just want to make it clear so everyone understands that the reevaluation that will occur in 6 months applies to both of these changes, not just to the Friday at 11 a.m., but also to the changing the Thursday to 6 p.m.
Sure. All right, as amended, please vote. Oh, Greg? Oh, yeah, keep looking, it wasn't there.
Yeah, I just said, I just would like the council clerk to repeat the time frame, the first meeting, and then the 6 months, so everybody will be on the same page when it starts and when the 6 months end. If you could do that, please.
Yes, sir. On the first Thursday, the meeting will start at 6 o'clock, and on the,
The date of,
Greg, I'll ask, I know where you're going. Let her finish, and then we'll,
okay.
go ahead.
at 6 o'clock on the first Thursday, and then the third Friday, it will start at 11.
All right, but the continuation of his question is legal. We have a 17-day layover on any resolution that is passed, so 17 days from now is when it will start, and then that 6 month will go from there.
Could somebody look at the calendar and just see it?
Well, let me, I'll try to clarify that then. The 17-day will go past our next third Thursday meeting. So starting in October,
Right.
the first meeting in October will be at 6 o'clock on the first Thursday, and then the third Thursday will be at the 11 o'clock, the third, well, what would have been the third Thursday is now the third Friday at 11 o'clock.
But-
So starting in October is when we will take effect.
But Councilman Carroll, I think to answer your question, it's from October to March.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
that would be your 6 months.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mayor?
I just want to bring up that I know Councilman McKinney is going to reach out, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to reach out to a lot of school groups, but do realize during this test period, I just want this on the record, that probably those 2 Fridays in November and December, you may be nearing holidays. So those schools, and I just want everybody to know that in case we don't have schools for 2 months or big groups, a lot of people, it seems that this trial period is happening for the 11 o'clock Friday morning is happening during holidays. So it's closer to the holidays. I just want that for the record in case there are some people sitting behind me that may say, it didn't work. Well, give you a little bit of a break on those months.
Ms. Brannigan?
We got 70,000 people living in the city, and we got 5 people showing up at council meetings. This is a no-brainer.
I totally agree with you. I'm just saying it. I could just see some people saying that, well, what happened for those 2 or 3 months? And you're going to be dealing also with Easter. So this test might not work. It might take longer than 6 months to work.
Well, we're going to try the 6 months and see how it works out, and we'll be able to get a gauge in a 6-month period.
Okay. The motion as amended, vote. Council members, please vote.
Yes, your motion is Councilmember Sevier, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Please vote as amended. Mr. President, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution requesting that September 15, 2018 through October 15, 2018 be declared Kenner Hispanic Heritage Month.
Motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilman Hayes. Council members, please vote.
One more. Mr. President, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is a resolution approving Amendment Number 2 to the engineering agreement with Digital Engineering and Imaging Incorporated dated May 13, 2015 regarding Loyola Drive Improvements Project, Veterans Boulevard to I-10, State Project Number H.001794, Federal Aid Project Number H.001794, City of Kenner Project Number 2014-003B-RB to increase the agreement amount by $70,612.95 for a total contract amount of $295,346.95 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman McKinney. Council members, please vote.
Mr. President, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance amending the operating budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019 to reallocate funds and establishing the Citizen Services Department. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots 15 through 32 and 93 through 100, Square 134, Veteran Heights subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, into lots 15A, which lots are owned by Greek Orthodox Community of New Orleans Incorporated, and amending the City of Kenner's official zoning map, ordinance number 11,062, Unified Development Code, adopted on March 17, 2016, and more particularly rezoning new lot 15A, Square 134, from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to SI Special Industrial and C1-R Residential Commercial to C2 General Commercial, and directing, authorizing, and empowering the planning director for the City of Kenner to alter and amend the official zoning map of the City of Kenner, case number Z-4-18. Item 16C was removed. Item 16D is an ordinance approving an agreement with Han Enterprises Incorporated to replace damaged playground equipment at Wood Lake Playground in an amount not to exceed $12,111 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Casco Industries in the amount of $12,390 for the purchase of 6 Altair 5X multi-gas detectors that include color display and 10-foot sampling line and 1-foot probe in accordance with telephone bid T-18-2618 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract Number 55-17551 with 3M Company traffic control material for the purchase of reflective sheeting on an as-needed basis in the amount not to exceed $30,000 annually for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G was removed. Item 16H was removed. Item 16I is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Casco Industries in the amount of $6,152 for the purchase of 43 North American fire hoses for the Kenner fire stations and fire trucks in accordance with telephone bid number T-18-2619 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Anybody? Councilman Wilmot?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to go over a couple of things that we talked about earlier. And one of them was Mike Inks. Congratulations to you, sir. That's awesome. Hats off to you for that. And also, again, earlier I congratulated generally people on the SAFER grant. But I would like to thank Mayor Zahn for his work on that effort, and of course, Ms. Foshee and Chief Ryan Bergeron, if he's still here. Thank you, Chief. And also, legislation regarding the meetings change. We had a few people that were involved in that I contacted, or contacted me actually, with regards to several either emails, phone calls, text messages, and whatnot. And I believe that's critical and important to have that feedback. And two of them are Richard Brown, who's here tonight, Greg Teft, and several others who are not present. But thank you again for your input. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Brannigan?
I just wanted to thank the employees that made Freedom Fest go off without a hitch. It's an incredible event, and it's just going to get bigger every year, and it cannot be accomplished without dedication, and we have that. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. I like to thank the administration and all the people that supported the EOC during our, not as, I guess I'm going to call it a little practice, because it turned out to be a practice, but you play like you practice. And I believe that even though there's a reason for this to happen and everybody did their job, from the EMS to fire, policemen, recreation, general service, everyone, So it's something that we need every now and then to be able to put the gears into place, and the actual responsibility of people taking it upon themselves to schedule their hours in the 6-hour shifts for the EOC, because you are away from your family, but you have a job to do. And I am fully confident that if something should happen on a greater scale, that we, the city of Kenner, will be prepared to support the people who live here that we love. So thanks again, guys, for all your support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. That's all. Council Clerk?
Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Praddock, you were first. Did you still want to talk? Mr. Morrell says you beat him, and he doesn't care about that.
Thank you for the opportunity, but already had my say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morrell.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I want to talk a little bit again on 13A for the young lady that's still here in the audience with the seniors, and some comments that Councilman Segura made. I remember back in the Muniz administration when he cut funding for the craft program they had down there in South Kenner, and this council chamber was packed with senior citizens. They were all senior citizens because the program was cut that affected them. They packed this chamber. Just recently, the boat ordinance. There was concerns that we might be exceeding the number of people in here and being in violation of fire code. So Councilman Segura was right. When it's an issue that affects them, they're here. When it's something that don't affect them, they could care less. No matter what you do, nothing's going to change this. This has been going on in this city since I've been coming here for over 40 years. People want to come to these council meetings, they'll come here. But they got a better chance to come in the afternoon for the working people that I stated earlier. Now, I want to direct this to Councilman Carroll. I want to respond to you some comments from the last meeting concerning when you made the comments, and I know you had good intentions, that I don't own a computer and I don't carry a cell phone. I just want to say, I explained to you why, okay? My life don't revolve around social media. My life don't revolve around none of this high-tech stuff. When I got a beef with somebody and I want to talk to somebody, I want to look that person in the face. I don't need to hide behind no machine and say what I got to say. Now, I want to direct this to Councilman Brennan. At the last council meeting, I asked you stated that it required legislation for those signs. I called your office Monday. I didn't call you Friday after the last meeting. I called you that Monday. And your secretary told me that they had no trucks on the sign with the weight limits crossing that bridge on East Loyola and Joe Yanni. That sign is turned around. That sign is not doing any good at all. What I'm asking for is a no truck route on East Loyola and Joe Yanni and no truck route on East Loyola and Vintage. 2 signs. I saw the crew out there today in Chateau Estates Lakefront putting up signs. So now I'm wondering where my signs are.
You want to just type?
We need legislation. Where is the legislation? It's not on this agenda. And one more thing. At the last meeting, I asked about the economic impact on our city. From the gun show the last week in July at the Pontchartrain Center, and the first week in August with the dog show down there. Seems to me if we got a positive economic impact on our city, we would be glad to announce that. The people have a right to know what kind of money the city is bringing in off of our venues. I love to talk about money, Mayor. I wish you talk about it when you give your report.
All right, Mr. Morrell.
Sales tax figures and economic impact.
Time's up.
Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Yes, and I just wanted to comment to Mr. Morella. Mr. Morella, you do realize my comments were said to support the people, and I may have used you as an example, and if you took offense to that, I apologize. But I was asking the ladies to be able to support the people like yourself who don't own a computer, who don't deal with it on a regular basis, to be able to give us support to address the changes. So that's what that's exactly right. So that's what I was doing to be able to support you. So we're on the same page. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
And Mr. Morel, I agree. Your form of social communications is better than social media.
Pastor Jackie Brown, Cockerham, 2610 Decatur Street, Apartment A, Kenner, Louisiana. I have two questions, and in 16A, can someone tell me where these lots are in Veteran Heights?
16B you're referring to?
16B, yes.
Okay, anything else you want to ask while we gather
And the
information?
other question is 16I. Where will the firehouse be moved to?
You hit start. Let's see if it works. About the lots for the rezoning, those are on Veterans right across from Brothers, the empty lots. There's a church all the way down at the end of the street. It's by Dawson and Marietta, right?
Okay, Bob.
It's on the north side of Veterans, across Veterans from Brothers.
Okay, so those are the two empty lots, that one has a lot of,
It's a bunch of empty lots, yeah.
Okay.
There's a bunch of piles of dirt on it right now. They're filling it. yes,
okay,
ma'am.
all right, I got you. And what about 16I? No, I see the fire hose, but I'm concerned about where the firehouse, the fire station will be moved to.
Wait, hold-
Right now, it's on
let her finish
Loyola.
her questions, and then we'll go to responses if we can, because I don't know what, I don't want you to lose your time while they're responding.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Those
Okay,
were
you're
the
finished
only
with
two.
your questions and time?
Pardon me?
You're finished with your time?
My time?
Yeah, you still had about another,
Oh, no, I don't need any more time. I just need some, this last answer.
okay, well, they'll be happy to answer. I just didn't want your time to run down while they're
All
answering.
right, you ready?
Okay, thank you, Pastor.
Thank
They'll-
you.
Any answers to her questions?
The last amendment would be for fire hose. We test our hose annually, and all the hose that test bad, that's what the purchase is for.
Okay. She wants to know about how firehouses or
Oh, the
fire
fire,
stations.
we're looking at different locations. We don't have a permanent lot yet, so we're still looking.
And is this just for the
Is this for the
Loyola station or
relocation of-
other stations?
The Loyola and Vet Station,
The volunteer.
Just the Loyola station is what he's referring to. They're looking for alternate location. Okay.
is that, you're asking for Loyola and Vets? Where we're going to relocate Loyola and Vet Station? We're still looking at properties. We're still working with DOTD, finding, but we don't have a permanent lot yet. So we're still looking. It's going to be in the general area, but we just don't have a permanent location yet.
All right, I think she got her answer.
Find out once you get that permanent location, because
It'll be, okay. No, obviously, I'm just interrupting administration, but soon as a decision has been finally made with all of the factors, we're dealing with the state, DOTD for the funding that they're going to give us for the current location, and then we have to go obtain a new location. Once all of that is settled, signed, sealed, we will make public announcements of this taking place on where the station will go. We just don't have those answers.
because they're gonna move it, and then everything else, that's something that should have been in place initially? Where you
That- Obviously, I know, we understand that. We understand. We, thank you, we appreciate that, but we understand, we just don't
let
have any
me-
control. This didn't come to
Council Chair.
this administration.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
can I, look, and we're not pointing the finger at any past administrations
Right.
here or in the city of New Orleans, but unfortunately, this administration and the Cantrell administration inherited this issue. Because everything we're going through, basically New Orleans is going through a lot of stuff too. So, working with the airport, the Airport Board, the City of New Orleans, the DOTD, and the state has been tiresome. It's been challenging. We are doing the best that we can. We don't have all the answers right now tonight because it is ongoing. I think most of the citizens know that. We've had at least 2 public hearings discussing numerous things that are coming and going. We have 2 first responders that are being inconvenienced, the fire department, and hopefully not, but it looks like, as you know, the police department also. Everything is continuing, going on. It's a work in progress. Thank God we have a new airport board appointment, Mr. Nicky Nicolosi, who has past experience with these things, and he's trying to get us through it. At this point, we don't have all the answers. Before things happen, we will have the answers. I think we got a pretty good report on it tonight. I think our planning department did a good job. Mr. Mike Sherman did a good job. We are still working on it. I want to applaud this council for their patience. I want to ask some members of the public to continue to be patient, but it's not easy. It's not going to be addressed anytime soon, but we're hoping we can get to it as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll? You finished? Okay. Ms. Foshee, you finished? Okay. Councilman Brannigan?
We just, about a month ago, had the meeting with the state of Louisiana to be able to get the fire station funding through a Seymour project. So, that's, it's going to get moved, and we are saving the city a whole bunch of money by being able to have that fire station moved under that project. There's a lot of things that we wish we had first, like a flyover to the airport, but we're going to get the airport first and have to deal with it. That's just the way the state operates sometimes.
All right, Mr. Greg Taff? Pass. Mr. Richard Brown?
Very quickly, Mr. President, Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane. First off, on behalf of myself and on behalf of Citizens for a Better Kenner, of which I'm president, I want to commend the mayor and the administration for a job well done with Freedom Fest. Y'all put on an outstanding event. City employees obviously all worked together very hard on that. It was a terrific job, terrific event. And also one other comment I did not make earlier because of the amendment suggested by Mr. Wilmot. But on behalf of Citizens for a Better Kenner, we thank you for the amendment changing the time of the evening council meetings from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That was a formal request that we were going to make. So thank you. That's all.
Ms. Fink, would you still want to speak again? Okay, thank you. All right, that clears the public speaking and motion for close. Motion. Close. Guys, y'all got to move faster. I'm telling you, one of these days, that's going to go, ooh.